What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And the Detroit Lions are re-signing a quarterback to round out their quarterback room before the draft. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to our video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, man, we are back with some Detroit Lions news. Now, I don't want to say this is breaking news because by the time you're seeing this, there's a very good chance that this is not breaking news whatsoever. However, I was excited to talk about this player. We haven't talked about him much. It's been a while. It's been since last preseason that we've talked about this player, but the Lions are bringing him back, and I haven't seen any contract details, but according to Adam Schefter, Nate Sudfeld is re-signing with the Lions. I would assume it's a one-year deal. I would assume it's nearly a minimum type of deal as well. However, I was excited to dive into this one and really kind of look back at some of the preseason, what were my thoughts during the preseason, but we know last season it was all about Teddy Bridgewater. We had acquired Teddy Bridgewater, and when he stepped in during the preseason, it was like, oh my goodness, this dude is different. Teddy Bridgewater, he's the backup quarterback. He's the guy that if you need to go to him, you'll be perfectly fine. He can handle business. But luckily, we didn't have to do that. And then during the season, it was about bringing along Hendon Hooker, and now Hendon Hooker this offseason has essentially become our number 2 quarterback, and I feel great about that as well. And I would like to use him situationally. Like if we were at the 2-yard line in goal line situations, we knew we were going to run the football, I wouldn't be mad at some creativity to be like, hey, maybe we do a little read option here with Hendon Hooker, spread some guys out, utilize the mobility that he has, just get him some snaps. You know, kind of like with Antoine Green this last season, where at times you just get him out there to block, right? You just give him some snaps. I wouldn't be mad at that. But that's going off topic. We have brought back Nate Sudfeld, the 30-year-old quarterback. And man, I was excited when we had initially signed Nate Sudfeld from the San Francisco 49ers after going through kind of the David Blau competition with Tim Boyle. I was very excited about bringing in Nate Sudfeld because you could immediately see the talent with the San Francisco 49ers just by preseason film alone. And this brought me to watch back some of the preseason passing attempts that he had. And statistically, it looks awful, right? If you just look at the numbers, Giants game, 15 of 28, 2 interceptions. You go look at the next game, 9 of 18, a touchdown, an interception. If you just looked at the numbers, you'd be like, man, he was absolutely terrible. And especially if you just, clip out the interceptions, it's like, that was bad. However, when I watched Nate Sudfeld, I can't help but like so many aspects of his game, which is why I'm excited about bringing this player back. And maybe the Lions will add some competition, during this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that in some way, shape, or form. But I do just like a lot of things about Nate Sudfeld's game. There's clear weaknesses. There's clear limitations. So bring some very underrated athleticism to the quarterback position in a really good typical build for quarterback. But also, I just love a lot of the little things within his game. When you talk about timing, you talk about the poise in the pocket. And I want to show some clips as I talk through that, just kind of some of my notes that I had from really rewatching this preseason from this past season, but then also just kind of remembering what I thought about him during that time. I was like, okay, this is all kind of coming back to me. And I'll show a couple of specific examples, but when you watch Nate Sudfeld, you talk about the builds, some of the underrated athleticism. You'll see it when they move him outside of the pocket, the bootlegs, the rollouts. Love him in those spots. His ability to throw off platform, I think, can get very unrecognized, meaning that his ability to make some throws, especially level 1 and level 2, that don't necessarily have to have his feet set towards his target. He can be off platform in that sense. Adequate velocity and ability to put a ball in really good positioning. That's probably the biggest thing, more so than the velocity. It's more about the positioning he's able to get on the football with some of his touch passes as well, but really through his core strength and not really getting his legs too much into it. But the touch passes, I think he throws a very catchable football, which as a receiver, I think you would love. This guy does not have a big-time arm, and I think that leads to trouble, especially on some of the third-level throws, and you'll even see it, like when he's on time, some of the third-level throws, it can get dangerous, and he needs to have more savvy, I think, with his eye usage, where not only just feeling where the defender is, but also being like, hey, I'm going to move you out of the play, because if I watch this route too long, even if I feel that defender and I can see a window there, if I lay that throw into a level 3 throw, there's a very legitimate chance that that defender is athletically going to be able to dive on this ball and make a play on the football, especially if you were to step into a regular season game. With that being said, though, when I bring up his numbers, it's also important to mention, number one, it's a preseason game, and when you look at just timing alone, there was very hit and miss timing throughout. I mean, to be fair, we had very hit and miss timing with Jared Goff and Jameson Williams during the regular season for a while, and then it kind of came along as the season got to the end. But when you look at a guy like Sudfeld with Jameson, there were times where it's like, oh, the timing doesn't seem right. But it's like, yeah, this is the preseason. They took time during the regular season to figure this out. And in those two interceptions, I still kind of go back to the first one, which was the very beginning of that game against the Giants, where he takes the shot one-on-one with J-Mo. J-Mo doesn't really separate off the line of scrimmage, and it's picked off. And you see him hesitate a little bit. Sudfeld reads the safety, hesitates. it was definitely late to put that ball up, and then he's hit as he throws it, and he just kind of leaves up there just to duck the ball that's just asking to be picked off, and it was. And to me, I always look at that throw and just feel like it was forced. Like maybe it was a coaching decision, like, hey, we're going to take the shot one-on-one as soon as we get it here from the Giants. Maybe it was Sudfeld forcing it. Whatever it was, that first pass felt so forced by Sudfeld, where I really don't hold that too much against him because, the decision on paper is not a bad decision. It's just coming out way too late. However, when you watch him, there's so many things that I step back and I'm like, man, I love that part of his game. So outside of just kind of the traits that he carries, obviously, like I said, I love the poise in the pocket. I really like how fast his eyes is to work through progressions. Like, you can understand the sense and the understanding of the offense that he had just in the preseason alone, whether that was checking into different plays, understanding kind of the speed out routes and what they wanted to get to, but also just the progression in his eyes, right? The ability to work from safety to the route concept, to recognize a blitz and then work off of that, right? Be very poised in the pocket, feeling pressure, feeling a blitz. The athleticism would start to kick in a little bit, but really doing a nice job of not taking a sack. And what I think is huge about that interception on the sideline to Jameson is the way that he responded to it later in the game. When there's pressure in his face, Antoine Green's running a go route on the outside, and in this pass, pushed it too far, threw it out of bounds, but it was very uncatchable for a defender. It was like either my guy's getting it or nobody's getting it. And that's the kind of adjustment that you love to see mid-game. It's like, hey, he adjusted to that. The next time that kind of situation popped up again, didn't let the defender be in the play. The other interception that was also to Jameson Williams, again, felt very forced, but at the same time, this is one where you understood it, right? Man coverage defensively, you understood the progression, you see the first route cross, you see the safety on top of it, and he's immediately now moved on to Jameson Williams. But here's where I would like to see some of that savvy, because he's waiting on the route to kind of develop. It doesn't maybe happen as fast with the timing within the offense as Sudfeld is hoping for, but that's at that point where it's like, okay, we got to move those eyes. We can't just watch the receiver run through the route, because ultimately a very good defensive back, but really most safeties are going to recognize that, and they're going to step down and make a play on the football. Ultimately turned into an interception. It was high, a lot of traffic around the ball there. That's one where I just want to see kind of that savvy where it's like, okay, look it off real quick and then come back to it. You know what you want to get to. You understand the concept. He's working through the progressions, but it's like, let's get back to that in a second. Let's do something else. Let's look somewhere else before I come back to that throw, rather than kind of just forcing that in there. But you'll also get some beautiful throws. And this is where if you just looked at the numbers, or you just look at the bad, or you don't look at the all 22, you'll step back and be like, Sudfeld was terrible. But some of these throws are big time, whether that's the multiple drops that took place, which definitely hurt him statistically. There was like 4 or 5 drops that were easy. And again, they were from Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams. Like, they were big parts of our offense that were dropping the football. And these weren't like, I don't know, that one was kind of on the quarter. These are like easy drop. I mean, these are literally hitting the guy in the hands or hitting him in the chest, and he's just not coming down with the football. And these are some tough throws. The one to Laporta, taking a hit, delivering a really difficult throw on target on a big down. It's also not to say every throw was perfect that was caught. I thought, timing at times you'd be a little bit slow. I think there's also times where you want to see him speed up kind of the process just to get the ball out of his hands, where you see a lot of a process to kind of just wind up and let the ball go. And it's like, we need to make that more snappy when we start to kind of feel that pressure. You get that sense. You'll get the ball to sail a little bit. That can happen. Or if he's looking for velocity, mainly you see it on the out route here, where he's looking for velocity on this throw because the timing's late. He does a great job throwing with anticipation and throwing before the route even breaks and understanding where the coverage is going to, and he's able to feel that. In this Giants game, a team that was bringing a ton of blitzes and rolling coverage, and a safety's rolling out, safety's dropping down, going into cover 3 blitz, bringing an extra defender. When there's all this movement, his ability to stay calm and get through his progressions and read it, go from safety to blitz to my progressions to get through it, was beautiful. But there's times like this where you're like, okay, he's got to speed up that process because now he's late to where the break is on the play. When he steps up, he's trying to put velocity on it, ball just sails out of bounds. He doesn't naturally have a big arm, or he doesn't have like a rifle once you get further down the field. It's much more of a touch pass, and it's a nice pass. It's a catchable ball. With that being said, this throw right here is one that stood out to me. This cover 2 throw that he put on the sideline, where the cornerback, as soon as he steps down, Sudfeld lets this thing fly between the cornerback and safety. That window throw is a big-time throw. That's a big-time throw, but he's also laying that with complete trust of, as soon as that cornerback drops off, I know exactly what that is. I'm laying that right over top, and that's where you get some of the veteran experience that pops up when you watch him. So, as I said, there's certain things where it's like, okay, there's limitations here. There's also the aspect of, I want to see, at times the process speed up just from getting the ball out of his hands, but he doesn't take sacks, underrated athleticism, and it's like we had a couple times where you want to see, like, I think, expand on the eyes and his ability to kind of manipulate the defense, because even at times where it's like he's making the right decision, I want to see him just manipulate that, because in a regular season game, those guys may take that thing away. I've always been a fan of Nate Sudfeld since we acquired him from San Fran, what he did in the preseason for us. Say whatever you want to say about the numbers, just go watch the guy play. There's a lot of things that you could like about a number 3 quarterback and what he puts out there on film, and to be honest with you, you see some of that veteran experience. I think he has a really good sense for the offense. I think his limitations are very well documented, which is good because you know what he's good at and what he's not, but he's very poised, and I can always rock with that from a quarterback, and you see growth throughout the game. So for me, Nate Sudfeld being re-signed, I love it. I'm straight up. Like, I'm just a Nate Sudfeld fan. You add competition to this room for sure. I don't think you just need to, like, leave it, like, there. But to round out a room, if this was the 3 quarterbacks we came into with next year, I'd feel pretty darn good about it. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Welcome back, Nate Sudfeld. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.